constitution. Now a new argument is being brought in that really we are using this as a opening shot. Actually, we got in our mind something called the National Register, National Population Register, NPR, and after that something called the NRC, National Register of Citizens, and therefore we are going to remove all Muslims. Now I don't know how they have got this, because neither of the two has come in any written form, except for Assam. The Supreme Court drafted it and gave it to us. They gave it to Rajiv Gandhi to implement. He did not implement. Then every successive government, somebody would come and file petition, and the Supreme Court would remind them. Finally, when we came to power, they said, we give you an ultimatum that we will enforce it if you don't enforce it. And therefore, we decided to work on this. There we have said that for Assam, that whoever is not a citizen, either by naturalization or by birth, he shall be evicted, because the Assam people complained that a large number of people from Bangladesh have come for economic reasons. No Muslim has come from Bangladesh for persecution, but he has come for economic reasons. The United Nations, the United Nations International Refugees Act says what? That those who come for economic reasons cannot ask for any special treatment under the law with any government. So, therefore, these Bangladeshis, they have come. Now, I think also one have to think in terms of what is fair and not fair. Why did we partition India? We partitioned India because those Muslims who didn't want to stay with India, with Hindus, they be given a separate country. So, Bangladesh Muslims, Pakistani Muslims, they are people who got territory of India, surgically operated out and by the British and given to them, so that they don't have to live with Hindus. And now, having got the territory, they are all coming back to live in the same India that they didn't want to live, with the same Hindus they didn't want to live. So I said to the Bangladeshis, you want to come back to India, then cut a portion of Bangladesh and bring that also along, because that belongs to us. We gave it because you didn't want to live with us. Now you want to live with us, you bring back a proportion of that territory. And 1/3 of Bangladesh really belongs to India now, judging by the illegal migrants that have come from Bangladesh. So consequently, we shall always make a difference. We will always be sympathetic to those who come for persecution, out of persecution. We have been sympathetic to Taslima, we have been sympathetic to Adnan Swamy, we have been sympathetic to Tariq Fateh, we have been sympathetic to Salman Rushdie, so many people who wanted to come here. And then they wanted to, but some of them wanted to stay, some of them didn't want to stay. That was not our problem. But I don't think India can be treated as some kind of dharamshala that anybody can bring his bedroll and put it here and go to sleep. It is not available. Even I think dharamshala has some limit. You can't stay there forever. You have to leave after some time. So therefore, we are a nation. We have to think of our national security. We have to think of our population. If the Bangladeshi Muslims come here and agree to work for half the rate that the existing rate is, and therefore people to save money give them employment, that is unfair practice. Why should the government of India not protect its own citizens and not let its standard of living be lowered because somebody doesn't want to live in his own country because it's not economically nice to live? Somebody comes for persecutions, as I said, is another matter. So what about Rohingyas? Rohingyas are in Burma. In 1944, they declared that their leader is Muhammad Ali Jinnah, and that they wanted to migrate to Pakistan. When 1947 came, Burma became a separate country by the British in 1935 from India, and Burma then held a constituent assembly to draft a constitution. There 2 nominees of Rohingyas were appointed. And the Rohingyas, both the representatives said, we don't want to participate in this, we want to go to Pakistan. That time Bangladesh was part of Pakistan. And please enable us to go. But Pakistan refused to receive them, even though they are Muslims. Now we are being asked to take them. Why? That's what I said, we are not a dharamshala. Anybody wants to come here, okay, India is a good place to come. Not possible. So on Rohingyas, they may be persecuted by the Buddhists in Burma, but it is not our responsibility. But those people who because of partition have been persecuted, we have a responsibility. Because we partitioned the country, we gave them assurance, we signed an agreement with the Pakistani Prime Minister that they will not be persecuted, but they were persecuted. So we have to give them. And once they are here, we have to give them citizenship, otherwise they will be living a miserable life here. To live a life, a proper life, where they can get a proper job, can get proper respect, they have to have citizenship. And that's why we did it. And as far as the National Population Register is concerned, it has nothing to do with citizenship. We just ask them their details, what we are asking in Aadhaar and so on. Aadhaar has not been successful because it has been for other reasons. But as far as register is concerned, it is every 10 years we have a census. But we want to have in between those 10 years another register which will be updating. It will also be a cross-check when the census data comes out. So National Population Register has nothing to do whether you are a citizen or not a citizen. If you are living in India, your name comes in, your address comes in. If you have a Aadhaar card, that is also recorded. If you have a telephone number, that's recorded. How is that discriminatory? Do you think that no other country has such registers? Of course they do. Go and live in America and see how many things you have to fill out before they accept you to roam around in that country. After that, the NRC, which is presently only restricted to Assam. But the Home Minister, Mr. Amit Shah, said it will be applied all over India. But there's no such thing as being passed anywhere, adopted anywhere, or Parliament has considered it. It is his suggestion, and I personally support that suggestion because this country has a huge developing terrorist problem. And that terrorist problem has to be dealt with by seeing that whoever is in your country, you know who they are, and they are here legitimately. In the parliament, the DMK people got up and said, what about Sri Lankan Tamils? Has any Sri Lankan Tamil come because of religious persecution? They came, many of them came because of war. Many of them came because they were LTT and they wanted sanctuary, and the Karunanidhi was a very convenient conduit for them. But nobody came because he was a Hindu or even a Christian. And if today some person comes, he'll have to show us in what way is Sri Lanka anti-Hindu. I've been to Sri Lanka many times, their temples are flourishing. And as far as the southern Sri Lankan Tamils are concerned, they are actually enjoying life. They are much more than they did before. When the Badara Naike, Indira Gandhi agreement was signed and they were all left high and dry and asked to return to India. And the same congressmen are giving lectures. What about this Sri Lankan Tamils? Sri Lankan Tamils are not coming on religious persecution. If they want to come for a better life, then they can apply under Section 6 of the Citizenship Act. Go through the due process. Just as they go through a due process when they go to Canada and go to Australia and New Zealand. So they have to go through the same due process here. They cannot be included in the category for which we brought an amendment recently in Parliament. It appears to me that this growing unity in our country, and particularly amongst the 82% of the population, is worrying a lot of forces, and especially our neighbors. And of course, our political opponents who see a consolidation of Hindus rising above caste, region, language differences, learning that how the British poisoned our minds to think of ourselves as different parts of India as separate, leading to secession movements. All that is collapsing. A united India, even if it's a united Hindus, because that's 82% of the population, it is a huge, big force for India's national security. We are very ready to cooperate and integrate every other community. The Parsis, they are totally integrated with our Hindu community. The Jews who are left after Israel was formed, many went back. But during persecution, there was only one place in the whole world where the Jews were not persecuted. That was India. In the first parliament session of Israel in 1948, passed a resolution, thank you India, the only country which didn't persecute Jews. Can the Syrian Christians in Kerala say they were persecuted? There is no question of any of them being persecuted under the Indian Constitution anyway. If you have been here for long years, you become a citizen, and if in 1947 you are here, you are automatically a citizen, and therefore you enjoy all the rights which everybody else enjoys. But that doesn't mean we are going to forget the ancient culture of India. The ancient culture of India requires all of us to unite and know that we have a common heritage, and that heritage should be taken forward. Even Muslims can participate in that, because as I have found from studies of DNA, Muslims have the same DNA as Hindus. That means their ancestors were Hindus. Otherwise, how can they have the same DNA? And consequently, there's nothing wrong. In Indonesia, they are Muslim. Their currency, one of their, they have a 10,000 rupiah note in which Ganapati's picture is there. I was taken aback when a Muslim country, it's a theocratic, it's a country where they have said we are an Islamic republic. But when when I was Minister of Commerce in the 90s, in the international conference, I met the Indonesian finance minister and asked him, why did you put Ganapati in your note? He said, you see, in 1997, our currency was devaluing very fast. Nothing would stop it. And we didn't know what to do. So somebody from Bali came, a Hindu Pandit, and he said, if you put Ganapati's picture, it will stop for you. So in the cabinet, we said, we have tried everything, nothing has worked. Let's try this and see if it works. And we printed currency notes with Ganapati in it, and it stopped. So therefore we are keeping it, they're still keeping it. The airline is called Garuda. All their names are Sanskrit names or derived from Sanskrit. In Jakarta, in the middle of this main thoroughfare, they have a huge chariot with Krishna sitting, advising Arjuna. They are not, many people used to have asked them, you are Muslims, how can you have all this? They said, we have changed our religion, but we have not changed our culture. That is what we want in our country. And that one culture will come when we all rise above caste, regions, language differences, recognize our unity. And I think that it is a very good thing that for such a simple, ordinary thing, the opposition has made such a big hullabaloo that the mainstream of India has united with us. We have our reports suggest that the silent majority is with us, and therefore this has been a great step forward for us. Thank you very much.